Tragedy in East Birmingham from Easter night, a father killed during a party. Officers say a woman intentionally drove into Mickese James Bostic. The information just disturbing as investigators say he was wedged between a vehicle and a home on Lisa Lane. Detectives believe some of his children were there.
Your reporter, Taylor.
I haven't seen any pictures. His family's here, so I'll be able to
She has two tragedies.
He never expected it would happen in front of his own children. Easter Sunday, a day meant for celebration, became a nightmare no one could prepare for. One moment, laughter filled the air. The next, a man was pinned by a vehicle, his life ending as terrified voices screamed around him. Mickese James Bostic, 27, was a devoted father, a trusted colleague, and a pillar in his Birmingham community. Known for his work in Jefferson County's juvenile court system, he had built a life centered on providing for his children, 3 of his own and 2 from his partner's previous relationship. Family, friends, and co-workers all described him as one of the few good men left, someone whose presence brought stability, warmth, and guidance. That Easter, his home was alive with celebration. Balloons swayed, children played, and adults mingled, enjoying the double joy of the holiday and the birthday of his youngest daughter. But behind the smiles and chatter, tensions between Mickese and his longtime partner, Shawtice Renee Jackson, had been simmering. Words escalated into arguments, and the familiar comfort of family and festivity began to unravel in an instant. Voices rose, and the cheerful atmosphere began to fracture. Those in attendance sensed the shift before they understood its gravity. Panic replaced laughter as a series of alarming events unfolded, leaving loved ones frozen in disbelief. In that moment, the family realized that something irreversible was happening, something that would change their lives forever. This is a story of devotion, of a father whose life revolved around his children, and of a day that turned from celebration to tragedy in the blink of an eye. It is a story that reveals how quickly ordinary moments can spiral into crisis, and how even a home filled with love can become the setting for heartbreak. If you follow true crime stories, hit the subscribe button, like and share this video. Because what happened to Mickese Bostic is a tragedy that will leave you stunned and questioning how such a day could end in devastation.
3, 2, 1.
Yes! That is it!
This guy is funny!
That is it!
Do it again! What these kids?
Mickese James Bostic, 27, grew up in Birmingham, Alabama, surrounded by family and community that knew him as dependable and hardworking. From an early age, he displayed a quiet sense of responsibility, a trait that would define much of his adult life. Those who knew him often said Mickese was a man who carried the weight of others' needs without complaint, earning the respect and admiration of those around him. Professionally, he dedicated nearly a decade to Jefferson County, working in the juvenile court system. Colleagues described him as reliable, thoughtful, and approachable, someone who balanced the seriousness of his duties with a warm, personable presence. His commitment to the community extended beyond his job. He sought to make a difference in the lives of children and families through his work and personal example. At home, Mickese's life revolved around his family. He was the father of 3 children and the stepfather to 2 more, all of whom he loved deeply. Relatives and friends fondly called him Big B, a nickname that captured both his physical presence and his larger-than-life character. Humorous and kind, yet grounded in responsibility, Mickese worked tirelessly to provide for his family, often putting their needs above his own. Those who knew him recall a man who brought joy and stability to his household and community alike. Whether guiding his children through daily routines, supporting his partner, or offering a helping hand to neighbors and colleagues, Mickese's presence left a lasting mark. His loss was not only felt by his immediate family, but also by the broader circle of friends, co-workers, and community members who had come to rely on him. In short, Mickese Bostic was more than a father and professional. He was a man whose life was dedicated to caring for others, a steadfast figure whose absence left an irreplaceable void. Understanding who he was as a person makes the tragedy of what happened on that fateful Easter Sunday all the more devastating. Easter Sunday, April 20th, 2025, began like any other in Birmingham, Alabama, with families gathering to celebrate and children excitedly anticipating the holiday. At the home of Mickese James Bostic, however, this day carried an extra layer of joy. It was not only Easter, but also the birthday of his youngest daughter. Balloons and decorations adorned the house, and a birthday cake stood ready to mark the special occasion. The gathering was sizable, drawing around 50 family members and friends, all eager to celebrate together. The house was filled with laughter, chatter, and the sounds of children running through the rooms and backyard, their voices mingling with the clatter of dishes and the hum of casual conversation among adults. For most, it was a day of happiness, a day to share food, stories, and smiles. Mickese moved through the crowd with his characteristic warmth, checking on his children, chatting with guests, and making sure everyone felt welcome. Yet beneath the surface, a tension simmered. Earlier in the day, the family had experienced a moment of conflict that prompted a police response. Law enforcement had been called to the home following reports of a domestic disturbance. Officers arrived, spoke with both Mickese and his longtime partner, Shottice Renee Jackson, and, after assessing the situation, left without taking any criminal action. The incident seemed contained at the time, and the family returned to their celebration, unaware of how quickly events would escalate. As the afternoon progressed, subtle signs of discord reappeared. Conversations between Mickese and Jackson occasionally faltered, raising eyebrows among relatives who sensed unease. Guests noticed brief disagreements and a strain in their interactions, though nothing at that point suggested the extreme danger that would come hours later. The tension was quiet but palpable, an undercurrent running beneath the laughter and games, hinting at unresolved conflicts that had yet to surface fully. Despite these undercurrents, the party continued. Children played together in the yard, sharing toys and laughter, while adults moved from room to room, greeting one another, sharing stories, and keeping the atmosphere as light as possible. The smell of food from the kitchen mixed with the scent of spring air drifting through open windows. For an outsider, the scene appeared lively and celebratory, masking the pressure building between Mickese and Jackson. As evening approached, the celebratory mood began to shift. Guests who had been enjoying the day began to notice the growing intensity of the interactions between the couple. Voices grew louder at times, and body language revealed irritation and frustration. Family members tried to intervene in small ways, encouraging calm and reminding the adults of the occasion's joyful purpose. But the undercurrent of tension remained. The unresolved dispute, combined with the stress of managing a large gathering and the presence of numerous children, set the stage for what would soon become a catastrophic event. This seemingly ordinary Easter Sunday, filled with celebration and love, was quietly becoming a day where ordinary joy would turn into tragedy. The combination of a special family occasion, lingering domestic tension, and the presence of many witnesses created the conditions for a chain of events that would leave the family and community forever changed. As evening descended on Easter Sunday, the quiet unease in Mickese Bostic's home intensified. Earlier tensions that had simmered beneath the surface resurfaced, growing more pronounced with each passing hour. Family members who had been observing subtle exchanges between Mickese and his longtime partner, Shottice Renee Jackson, began to sense that something more serious was unfolding. The argument, which had briefly flared during the afternoon, reignited with force. Witnesses later described voices rising, doors opening and closing abruptly, and the atmosphere shifting from tension to fear. At some point during the evening, Jackson allegedly retrieved a firearm. According to police reports and accounts from those present, shots were fired inside the home. It remains unclear if anyone in particular was the intended target. The sound of gunfire struck terror into the hearts of those attending, shattering the brief calm and replacing celebration with panic. In an attempt to distance himself from the confrontation, Mickese walked away from the argument, moving toward another area of the yard. That's when the situation took its most tragic turn. Witnesses reported that Jackson entered her SUV and deliberately drove it toward Mickese. He was pinned between the vehicle and the side of the home, a horrifying scene that unfolded in front of their children and other family members. The suddenness and brutality of the act left everyone present in shock, the joyous celebration replaced by chaos and grief. Emergency responders arrived swiftly. Dozens of police units and firefighters managed the chaotic scene, which included approximately 50 partygoers. Despite the rapid intervention, Mickese was found unresponsive and pronounced dead at the scene. Family members struggled to comprehend the rapid escalation of events that had taken the life of someone so central to their lives. The children, who had been playing just moments earlier, were forced to witness the devastating reality of violence within their own home. Authorities took custody of the children to ensure their safety, recognizing the extreme trauma they had endured. The suddenness of the tragedy left a lasting impression on everyone present. Witness accounts consistently described the chaos and disbelief that overtook the household. The combination of gunfire, escalating argument, and the deliberate act of the vehicle created a moment of horror few could process in real time. Family members later recounted the surreal terror of seeing Mickese, a devoted father and pillar of their family, pinned in front of their eyes. The police classified the incident as a domestic-related homicide. Shatice Jackson was arrested at the scene and charged with capital murder under Alabama law, reflecting the severity of the crime, particularly given that children had witnessed it. Investigators noted that the sequence of events, from the initial argument to the fatal act, underscored the devastating consequences of unresolved domestic conflict. For the family, the loss was immediate and total. A man described as caring, responsible, and devoted was gone in an instant, leaving a void that could never be filled. The tragedy left an indelible mark not only on his children, but also on relatives, friends, and the broader community. What would you do if you witnessed something like this? Comment below with your thoughts. Would you intervene, call for help, or try to protect those around you? Moments like this demonstrate how quickly domestic conflicts can escalate into tragedy, and the decisions we make can have profound consequences. Ultimately, the escalation on that Easter evening demonstrates how ordinary life can transform into irreversible tragedy when domestic tensions reach a breaking point. Mickese Bostic's death is a sobering reminder of the lethal potential of unresolved disputes and the urgent need for intervention in volatile situations. The immediate aftermath of the tragedy at Mickese Bostic's home was chaotic and overwhelming. Within minutes of the incident, emergency services were alerted, and the scene quickly drew a significant response. Approximately 25 police and fire units arrived, navigating the confusion of a household with roughly 50 party attendees, including children, who had just witnessed the horrifying events. First responders faced a scene filled with panic, shock, and grief. Guests were distraught, trying to comprehend what had just occurred, while some sought to comfort the children, who were visibly terrified. Amid the turmoil, paramedics assessed Mickese Bostic and found him unresponsive. At 10:21 p.m., he was pronounced dead at the scene, the official confirmation of the tragic loss that had unfolded in front of friends, family, and most heartbreakingly, his own children. Law enforcement immediately focused on ensuring the safety of those present, particularly the minors. The children were quickly separated from the scene and placed into protective custody to prevent further trauma. Their experiences on that night, witnessing the sudden, violent death of their father, would leave lasting emotional scars. Authorities prioritized providing them with immediate care and later coordinated with family members to support them through the initial stages of recovery. Shatice Renee Jackson, the mother of Mickese's children and the alleged perpetrator, was arrested on site. The severity of the situation and the presence of children during the fatal act elevated the charges. Jackson faced capital murder under Alabama law, a charge reserved for the most serious homicides. In particular, the statute includes provisions for cases in which a child is present during the commission of a murder, reflecting the added gravity when vulnerable witnesses, especially minors, are involved. The scale of the response and the nature of the charges underscored the magnitude of the tragedy. This was not a private dispute gone wrong. It was a public, violent incident that demanded immediate and comprehensive intervention. Officers documented witness statements, secured the scene, and coordinated with emergency medical personnel to manage the aftermath. Firefighters, meanwhile, assisted with crowd control and provided support to distressed attendees, ensuring the area remained as safe and controlled as possible given the circumstances. Community members and extended family, many of whom had been part of the party, were left reeling. The combination of sudden death, the violent method, and the fact that children were present created a shockwave of grief and disbelief. The procedural response, while swift and organized, could not mitigate the emotional impact of witnessing such a traumatic event. In the days following, authorities confirmed the arrest and charge details, and the case drew widespread attention due to the tragic circumstances and the profound loss experienced by the family. Emergency response efforts highlighted not only the professionalism of the responders, but also the terrifying scale of domestic disputes that escalate into fatal violence. This moment marked a turning point. The immediate crisis was over, but the ripple effects of that night on family, community, and law enforcement would continue far beyond the initial response. The tragedy of Mickese Bostic's death, witnessed by his own children, underscored the extreme consequences of domestic conflict and the critical importance of timely intervention in volatile situations.
They say the last few hours have been an absolute nightmare for them and that they're trying to process how someone could do something so cruel.
She would do him so cruelly. It's so wrong. It's not fair. It's not right, but he's a good person. He's truly gonna be missed. You know, a long time ago they said there's a few good men left. He was one of them. He was gonna provide for his family, and he's gonna do the things that he needs to do for his family.
Birmingham police tell us they'll provide a name and a mugshot when that suspect is formally charged. A spokesperson for Jefferson County releasing the following statement to us, saying, quote, "This is obviously an extremely difficult time for his family, friends, and colleagues. We are praying for all involved." We'll continue to keep you updated.
Following the tragic death of Mickese Bostic on April 20th, 2025, law enforcement and the judicial system acted swiftly. Shawtice Renee Jackson, 30, was arrested at the scene and charged with capital murder under Alabama's child present provision, as the couple's children had witnessed the horrific act. The confrontation had escalated throughout the day, and after initially leaving the scene, Jackson returned, allegedly firing shots inside the home before striking Bostic with her SUV, pinning him against the house and causing his death at the scene. Her arrest underscored the severity of the crime, and she was booked into the Jefferson County Jail under a 48-hour felony hold, a standard procedure for serious offenses, and was not granted bond. Jackson made her first court appearance shortly thereafter, on April 23, 2025. During the hearing, she informed the court that her mother had secured legal representation, which delayed further proceedings to allow the attorney to file a formal notice of appearance. Reports indicate that Jackson appeared calm at the hearing, even smiling at times, drawing media attention and public scrutiny. A follow-up appearance was scheduled for April 30th to allow her counsel to formally participate in the proceedings. During that session, Jackson was reportedly observed smiling and mouthing words to attendees, a moment that drew media attention and public scrutiny. It is important to note that, as of now, there is no publicly available information confirming any further court hearings after April 30th. While the case remains under the jurisdiction of the Jefferson County court system, the absence of additional updates highlights the ongoing nature of the legal process. Jackson remains held without bond at the Jefferson County Jail, reflecting the severity of the charges and the involvement of children as witnesses. Capital murder in Alabama reflects the most severe level of homicide charges, particularly in cases where children witnessed the act, which serves as an aggravating factor under state law. Conviction could result in life imprisonment without parole or the death penalty if aggravating circumstances are proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Legal experts note that while a death sentence is possible, it is rare in cases where a vehicle is used, as additional aggravating factors are usually required. Depending on evidence and context, such as whether the act was premeditated or provoked during a heated dispute, lesser charges like non-capital murder or manslaughter could also be considered. Additional charges could relate to the alleged discharge of a firearm during the incident. However, no formal charges for that have been reported. The children who witnessed the event may be called as witnesses, though courts often seek alternative ways to present evidence to minimize further trauma to minors. If Jackson were found mentally unfit to stand trial, she could be hospitalized until deemed competent or possibly indefinitely if competence cannot be restored, a legal standard that is difficult to meet. Meanwhile, custody arrangements for the children involve either willing family members or, if none are available, the Department of Human Resources and Foster Care. While the legal proceedings continue, the community response has been immediate and heartfelt. Memorial services and vigils were held in Bostic's honor, including poignant balloon releases to commemorate his life. One particularly striking moment occurred when a single heart-shaped balloon remained suspended above the center, symbolizing his enduring presence in the hearts of those who knew him. Colleagues at the G. Ross Bell Juvenile Detention Center paid tribute to Bostic, remembering him for his humor, dedication, and positive influence on the youth he served. Family members, including Aunts Brenda Frazier and Rosemary Adekpo, shared their grief publicly, emphasizing the irreplaceable loss to both his children and the wider community. Legally and socially, the Bostic case serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of domestic conflict. The initial proceedings, along with the scheduled follow-up appearances and the ongoing nature of the trial preparation, underscore the seriousness of capital murder cases in Alabama and the careful navigation required within the justice system. The case continues to progress, with further court dates expected for legal representation and trial preparation, though no subsequent hearings after April 30th have been publicly confirmed. Ultimately, the Bostic case highlights the urgent need for community awareness, legal vigilance, and systemic measures to prevent domestic disputes from escalating into irreversible tragedy. As the legal process unfolds, the community remains united in mourning, honoring Bostic's legacy, and advocating for the protection of children and families from similar violence. The loss of Mickese Bostic leaves a void that extends far beyond the immediate tragedy. His children, who witnessed the devastating events, face an unimaginable reality without their father's guidance, protection, and love. Family members, friends, and colleagues continue to grapple with grief, struggling to reconcile the vibrant, dedicated man they knew with the violent circumstances that ended his life. For those who knew him, Mickese was more than a father, partner, and co-worker. He was a steady presence, a figure of responsibility and care. His death underscores the profound ripple effects of domestic violence, not only on those directly involved, but on entire families and communities. The heartbreak experienced by his loved ones is a stark reminder that violence leaves scars that extend far beyond the immediate moment of loss. This tragedy also reinforces a crucial point. Many domestic violence fatalities are preventable. Recognizing warning signs, seeking help early, and ensuring children and vulnerable family members are protected can make a life or death difference. Policies, community support, and informed interventions are not just theoretical. They are practical tools that can prevent escalation, save lives, and protect those who are often least able to defend themselves. Mickese Bostic's story serves as both a cautionary tale and a call to action. It invites viewers to reflect critically on the ways domestic violence manifests in homes around the world, and to consider what steps can be taken to protect families in their own communities. The human cost of inaction is painfully clear in this case, and it is a sobering reminder that vigilance, compassion, and proactive engagement are essential. As we honor his memory, we also confront the reality that tragedy like this need not be inevitable. By sharing these stories, discussing the warning signs, and fostering safer environments for families, communities can begin to reduce the devastating impact of domestic violence. Mickese Bostic's life, dedication, and untimely death challenge us to act, to ensure that other families never have to endure a loss like this. If you or someone you know could benefit from this information, like this video, share it, and help raise awareness. And don't forget to subscribe to Dark Trace Crime Stories for more real cases that remind us why vigilance and compassion matter. Start conversations about domestic violence, support families under stress, and advocate for interventions that prevent escalation. Together, communities can reduce the likelihood of tragedies like the one that claimed Mickese Bostic, honoring his memory through proactive action and education.